Clemson football and the transfer portal. If you were in charge, who would you pick? That's what I'm going to dive into today. It's going to be fun. This is not meant to be stressful or get into an argument. This is just to have some fun. If you were picking who you wanted to pick in the transfer portal for Clemson, who would you pick? Thanks for joining me on Clemson Football Live. I'm Brian. Today's a very weird day because, well, there's only the Army-Navy game that I know that's going on at 3 o'clock, which is always exciting. But, last week we had conference championships, but really nothing other than maybe some FCS play. But welcome to the channel. Hope you subscribe. It's free, and it's easy to support the channel. So, we know the whole thing about the transfer portal with Dabo. He doesn't like it. I don't believe that you build a team off of it. You actually fill spots that you need to fill if they're vacant. And so I think that it's great supplementary recruiting. So that's my feelings on it. I know Dabo said this week something about tampering. There's a lot of tampering that's going on. Well, I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but we know there's tampering. We all know there's tampering. I mean, that's right up there with that statement, water's wet and liver mush is disgusting. We know it. Everybody knows that there's tampering going on, and nobody's willing to fix it. No one is doing anything about it. Now, Clemson, on the other hand, I know we're going to get into picking the transfer portal players here in just a second. I just want to say this for Clemson. Clemson really doesn't like the transfer portal, and I'm just going to stop there. So let's get to the fun part. Okay, now let's look at 24/7 Sports. I'm hoping that there's no audio coming out of this, so I'm about to share the latest people to go to the transfer portal according to 24/7 Sports. So you're about to see this on the screen. Please tell me if you hear anything in the background. I don't have my in-ears in, so I can't hear anything. So here we go. 24/7 Sports. This is who has entered the transfer portal as of today. I'm going to take my picture out of there so you can see it better. So here we go. You see some players, Ashley Williams from Arizona State, some Michigan State players. Boy, Tulane after Willie Fritz left, and he's going to, I think, Houston, if I can remember correct. A bunch of their players are jumping ship, and that's been a really good story for the past few years. So, see these players jumping into the portal, and let's go to the top available players. Now, at Clemson, the big topic is offensive line. You know it. I know it. We all know it. We know some of the players that we are losing. So you see Walter Nolan, former #1 recruit in the country. He's leaving Texas A&M. I mean, look at that guy's rating. Now, I don't know everything there is to know about Walter Nolan. I don't know the circumference of his, eyeballs. I don't know everything about this guy, but I do know that he is a really, really talented football player with a lot of upside. He's still young. I know that we have a lot of players on the defensive line, but with us leaving guys like, and now this is me. Once again, I said this is for fun. This is not for us to argue about. For me, I would not mind trying to go after Walter Nolan. And you say, why? We have these players. I think that it would be great to go after somebody like him. He fits Clemson's system very well. So adding another incredible player in the trenches for Clemson wouldn't hurt us at all. So that would be a fun one to go after. That's interesting. London Humphreys leaving Vanderbilt, going to Georgia. Think about Georgia and all their ability to recruit, and they're taking a guy out of Vanderbilt. I know the guy, he has to have talent to go there, but I'm just saying it's really interesting. Juice Wells, it looks like he's 100% going to Ole Miss. Andrew Makuba, it looks like he's going to Texas, from what I've heard. But getting back to Clemson, We know the big position that everybody's talking about, offensive line. Clemson needs offensive linemen. We made an offer supposedly to, I believe it's Alan Heron is his name, at that really small school, Shorter. I also, by the way, went to Google top 10 Clemson football offers in transfer portal, and really couldn't find anything. So I know that there's supposedly some offers out on the table to other people other than him, but I really didn't see anything that blew me away. Let's go to positions real quick. Let's just go to positions, and we'll go to offensive line if possible. I want to get down here to offensive line because that's so. We're looking at these guys, and you ask yourself, who is the best available? I would go after Chase Bisontis, and you go, is that because he's one of the highest rated players? And to answer your question, absolutely. Clemson needs to go after as high rated player as they possibly can at each position that there is a need at, or if you felt like a person could actually be worth a crap at the position and would bring a spark to the team. Going after a former Notre Dame offensive lineman, not a bad thing. Notre Dame, love them or hate them, always has world-class offensive linemen. And I think Zeke could probably be a good pickup. We need big, beefy players on the offensive line. We need guys who are not only big, we need people who are skilled. So let's keep going through here and see who else on this list would be interesting. I think this guy right here, Trey Wedding, if I'm saying his name correct, I think that would be a big pickup. Wisconsin, once again, they have a lot of talent on the offensive line. They're known for that. And we need those style of players on the offensive line because I'm telling you, when Matt Luke coming in, I think that we're going to see some really good things. I think that seeing Matt Luke come in, he's going to have something to work with. He's going to have something to work with, and we need to give him a chance to have an immediate effect, and bringing in some players on the offensive line would be great. So I think that that Wisconsin player Trey Wedding would be fantastic. Now, one more. Let's go in here and load some more players. Now, if some of these guys are injury prone, I'm just going to go out there and go ahead and throw this out there. I don't know, but just looking at their ratings, looking at where they come from, this could be a good move. I'd like to know this Austin Blaske story. He's leaving Georgia. What is his story? Because Georgia has really good offensive lines historically. That would be a great question. So these are some of the guys that I would look at, just kind of recapping. Yes, going after Chase Bisontis, Zeke Coral. I want to say Carroll. I have a friend of mine whose last name is Carroll. Trey Wedding. I would check that guy out. And this Austin Blaske guy. Now, you're like, well, Brian, here's the deal. These recruits cost a lot of money. Well, I was told that dear old Clemson is funded very well, so we don't have to worry about that. So, pull out the pocketbook, get it out, count how much money's in there, and go get these guys. Go get them. I think this would be a lot of fun. Let's continue the fun. I'm trying to stay off my soapbox. Y'all know me. Let's go to wide receivers. And you're like, why are we going to wide receivers? So I think that we need to look at potentially someone that is a possession guy, someone who has some height to him. Let's look at Julian Fleming. Now, he's not super tall, but he's 6'2", 210 pounds. Julian Fleming got lost in the Ohio State wide receiver room. Now, that's a good wide receiver room that if you're going to get lost in it, that's a good wide receiver room to get lost in. You've got all those great players, Marvin Harrison Jr. and the guys from last year. You kind of got lost there. And I think someone like him, who was one time, if I remember correctly, was the top wide receiver in the country, I would go after him. I would see what interest he has at coming and playing at Clemson. That would be fun. That could be very interesting. Right now, I can't share my screen because another TV show that's sponsored by 24/7 Sports is showing right now. So I can't show it right now. Let's keep talking about some of these players. Ja'Cory Brooks out of Alabama, 6'2", 195. You ask yourself, could he be someone that could be an immediate impact player? These guys are coming out of the portal. You're demanding that they be an immediate impact player. So I think that would be fun. I think it would be fun to go after him and see if he would be willing to come to Clemson and play. And let's just pause right here. So one of the arguments that I hear all the time from people is like, look, some of these guys are second or third string guys. Well, what about Kyle McCord? He was starting quarterback for Oklahoma. I mean, Ohio State. Good Lord. I need more rest. Now, I think that Kyle McCord is playing the transfer portal game and he's playing it hard. That could bite him in the long run, but that's for he and his family to worry about. But I'm just saying, not all of these guys who are leaving these schools troublesome or losers. A lot of these guys have a lot of talent. Some of these guys might, maybe were lied to by their coach. Maybe some of these guys just barely got beat out by someone who they should have got beat out by. Just because what shakes down in practice doesn't always translate to the field and vice versa. I don't know, but I think going after one of these wide receivers could be a lot of fun, and it could give Clemson a chance to fix some immediate issues, especially on the offensive line and some at the wide receiver position. It's funny to see Chris Tyree leave Notre Dame and go to Virginia. I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't go to Virginia right now unless death was involved. I mean, that is not a good place to go. It is not a good place to go. It's on life support as it is. So going back to a couple other players, this Deion Burks from Purdue, he's interesting, but the thing is, we have enough guys who are 5'10" to 5'11". We need some guys who can go up and catch the football, right? We need a few guys who can go up, jump up, possess the football, come down with it, and fight for the football. That's what we're missing at Clemson as we speak. So that would be fun to see. To see us land is Will Shepherd. Will Shepherd is out of Vanderbilt. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. He's highly rated at this point. It would be someone, he would definitely be someone that I would take a look at to see if he would possibly want to come in and play for us. But it would be fun, just to see the immediate impact. It's like if you could do a PlayStation simulation, obviously you can't. How fun would it be to get some of these guys in here and just plug them into the system and see how it would work? I guarantee you some software nerd is doing that as we speak. There's a lot of short guys in here in this class. There's a lot of short guys. Keon Coleman was a game changer for Florida State. He really was. And that guy went up and got the football. He was a fighter. And, you can't help but like what you see at him. Now, Chris Brazzell or Brazzell, I don't know how you pronounce this because it's Brazzeel. He played for Tulane. Maybe he would be a good someone to go after at the wide receiver position. He's 6'5". Now he's really slim, 195 pounds at 6'5". Y'all, I'm not overweight and I'm 180 and I'm barely 5'9". So he's really, really thin. I don't know if that's a typo. Maybe that's a reason that maybe he could be a little more of a threat if he had a little more weight on him. Let's go over to linebacker. Now, I know a lot of people's going to be talking about, Barrett Carter coming back. Barrett Carter's coming back. That's very good for us. That's good for him. I hope it's good for him. But you step back and you say, hey, let's just say we're trying to find someone to at least compete with the loss of Jeremiah Trotter. They're not going to be Jeremiah Trotter. You don't replace a guy like that. You just find a really good football player. Now, this cat right here, I think you would say Xavier Sori out of Georgia. He's 6'3", 214. He's got above average height. So that would be a guy that I would take a look at and say, hey, he's been in a really good defensive system. Maybe bring him in and say, hey, he's played for Georgia. He's been around the system. He could come to Clemson, another incredible defense, especially along that front seven. Plug him in, get him some playing time. And bringing in really good talent can actually challenge your other players. So that's one thing that we could possibly bring in. Athens Tiger, who is a member of the Clemson Football Live channel. Thank you, my friend, for being here. He said, Trevor, ETN. We have the running back room covered right now, but if there was ever a player that we would want to extend the friends and family package to that Clemson has to their detriment, extended it, this would be the guy and it would be worth it. The friend of a friend of a cousin of a neighbor of family member's buddy comes to school to play for us. So, I mean, that would not be a bad idea, but unfortunately, running back room is filled. Not many says, how about Carter? Yeah, Carter coming back is great for us. He's fantastic. I would just try to bring this guy in to give them a chance at having more talent in the room and more options. And I think that would be cool. He could be terrible for all I know. I don't know. Now, I am going to give you one more player or position that I would say we could possibly add. Now, just go ahead and tell you there's no specific player that I have in mind. There's a couple of toss-ups, but there's no specific player. And you're like, Brian, what do you mean? What do you mean? Well, when I say this, a lot of you are going to go, ooh, either based off of my comment board, either you are going to totally agree with me or you are going to violently disagree with me. So I'm not saying that we should do this, but I am saying that we should consider it. and this is my last one, and I'll throw out a couple of names, and then we'll just go from there. Remember, this is all fun. This is not, there's somebody is going to come in here and they're leave a bunch of dumb comments on my board about I don't know what I'm talking about. And I've said like 20 times this is just for fun and hanging out and so on. So if you want to go be miserable, go be miserable. Just try not to do it in my comment board. I toss up the idea, do we go, and Greg Larkin, you literally said it right before I said it. Do we go to the transfer portal and get another quarterback? Do we? Because if Cade gets hurt, we're in trouble. Now, I don't know Christopher Vizina myself, but I have heard that his development has not come along like they hoped. Now, maybe some things are changing right now. I hope they are for his sake. But, and I know quarterbacks are expensive. And we have guys like, just for some of you who don't know, Aiden Childs left Oregon State. He's a quarterback. And he went to Michigan State. He followed his coach there, Jonathan Smith, who just left Oregon State and went to Michigan State. Left his alma mater. So that's interesting. It's not a done deal, but it's almost a done deal. Everybody's saying that Riley Leonard's going to Notre Dame. I don't know. Brock Vandegrift is transferring from Georgia and going to Kentucky. Dylan Gabriel is leaving Oklahoma and going to Oregon. This is his third stop now. Will Rogers is leaving Mississippi State and supposedly going to Washington. So there's a lot of movement here. But I'll tell you a player that I would go after. They would only be available for 1 year. They are very athletic. I have seen them play in person. The only problem that I see with them is that they have been injury prone over the past couple of years. But as a backup, I think they would be fantastic. Transparently, I kind of wish that Cade was a year behind where he's at, maybe overall. And I would say, go get this guy in the transfer portal until you build Cade up. And don't do like you did with DJ and not work him in that much. Actually work him in. Actually work in Cade. But that scenario's over. Okay? It's not going to happen. But I would like to see Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina come to Clemson. The guy's a workhorse. He's had to play behind an offensive line that was just okay. He can throw the ball well. By the way, this is not going to happen. But I said, just for fun, I would like to see him I'd like to see him in Clemson's offense because he can run the ball very well. I was at the Appalachian State Coastal Carolina game this year. He handed the ball off to his running back. The running back started left. Everything kind of collapsed, but the entire defense shifted back to the left. So after Grayson hands the ball off to him, he kind of moves off to the right, Well, the running back bounces it back this way because everything shifted back. And Grayson McCall threw a block on one of the defenders. I want to say a linebacker that busted open a big play. He is that guy. He's that guy who will snap the ball, take off running down the field, and get popped and stand back up and go back to work. Now, you're like, well, Brian, you just said he's injury prone. That's the only Achilles heel to him is I think sometimes he becomes too invincible. He has to be reminded that he's still immortal, that can be hurt. But Grayson McCall, I can only imagine what he would look like in a Clemson uniform. I think he would do a great job. And if Cade was willing to split reps with him, that would be great. Cade where you saw him slide against Duke this year. I think he did it one more time and he was short. Grayson McCall would have lowered his shoulder and probably taken 2 defenders with him. And instead of just getting the first down, probably gained 3 or 4 more yards. That's the reason I'm big on him. He's also coming from a small school that Coastal right now seems to be, I won't say falling apart, but it's totally backsliding from where it was. I mean, they were, a top 15 football team, a top 20 football team, and now it's just falling apart. So that would be interested to bring him in. I know it's not going to happen, but I think that would be a lot of fun. Plus, he's in the state of South Carolina. He's from Indian Trail, right outside of Charlotte. So it would be a lot of fun. I know it's not going to happen, but I think that would be, I think it would definitely be cool. So, well, folks, listen to me. I'm going to let you go. I'm glad that you're here. This is one of those weird Saturdays where, as I said, except for maybe some FCS and, of course, Army-Navy game, there's nothing going on. There's a lot of transfer portal noise. So I'll make a final statement. I'm at 26 minutes. I very well doubt anyone watching this later on will get to this 26-minute mark, but I'm going to say this to anyone who is watching right now. The transfer portal, as I've said, is just a tool to plug holes. And if someone has the ability to immediately positively impact your team, and you have the scholarships, and Clemson should have the scholarships with 6 guys leaving right now? I could be wrong. I don't know all the ins and outs of the transfer portal. I'm going to admit that to you. But we've always had to deal with this excuse of, well, there's not enough scholarships. Though you could walk along the bench and find a bunch of guys who never touched the field, who was friends of someone who has a scholarship. They're never going to impact the football team unless we're up 70-0 with 2 minutes left in a ball game. You could take that scholarship and go out and land someone who's actually going to be a game changer or impact the game positively. So now we have these 6 guys right off the top of my head who are no longer going to be at Clemson. Does that not free up 6 scholarships? It's just, I think that right now, the whole NIL deal, I was told preseason, by the way, that dear old Clemson had enough money to get whoever they wanted. So supposedly this is not a funding issue, right? And by the way, I'm not associated or affiliated with dear old Clemson. I don't know anyone there. I'm not talking negatively or positively about them. I'm just telling you what I was told, because I was questioning if we had the funds to go after these players. And I was told that we had more than enough money to go after whoever we wanted to. So what does this come back down to? Sweeney made a great move hiring Matt Luke. He made a great move hiring Matt Luke. In fact, it was so good, I'm surprised we did it. I don't mean that bad. It's just the coaching hires over the past 5 years has been so underwhelming. Just kind of hard to believe. But I think we need to accept something. There's teams who are within the rules, and they're going hard after players, and we are not. And I'm just throwing a name out here. I don't even know if they would fit. I'm just saying this. But let's just say we could offer Julian Fleming. And let's just say Julian Fleming would come to Clemson and he would do well. Would we offer him? Let me rephrase that. Would we legitimately go after him? Offering a scholarship and actually courting someone is totally different. And I'm just going to end it by saying this without getting too negative. I don't think that we're trying to use the transfer portal. I really don't. I think that us fans who have been screaming and yelling about it, me, once again, I've laid out my stance on it. It's supplementary. I think that we're given a placebo. to just shut us up, at least for this recruiting cycle. Hoping, or for this transfer portal cycle, just hopefully to just get us away from it. And I think right now that's where we're at. We're given a placebo all the while. Georgia can land them. Bama can land them. Ohio State can land them. Texas can land them. Southern Cal can land them. Kentucky can land them. Florida can land them. Miami can land them. All of these teams can land them. Clemson can't or won't. I'll leave it at that. Quick comment section. Hey, 4th and goal with Seawalt. Hey, man, I saw one of your videos left a message on your board. If you want to get together and try to do a video, let's go for it. My email, send you my email now. I know this is live, but I very well doubt anybody will watch the video up to this point. BobbyDurkins@gmail.com. BobbyDurkins@gmail.com. Just email me and we'll try to work something out in the coming weeks. Folks, thank you so much for joining me. This is just for fun. Tell me who in the comment section, who would you go after? Who would you go after if you were Clemson, whether it was for fun or whether it was out of necessity in the transfer portal? Y'all take care of yourself. And as always, go Tigers.